Hello. What am I talking about today? The crazy killer whale's favorite penguin. Um, it's an isekai. What can I say? What can I say? Um, alright, if you haven't seen these videos before, I'm gonna give you a rating off the bat, and then I'm gonna go into why I gave you that rating. Um, for this, I'm gonna give it a 7. It's fine. Um, I wouldn't say it's like a priority list, like I need to see this. No, but it's fine. Um, alright. So what's the gist? Well, like I said, it's an isekai. This girl was reincarnated into this world. And, she had a semi-crappy life, but they don't really mention it much. She's brought into this world as a penguin. And I mean, I think it is like a novel situation where like, oh, you're brought into this novel, as like one of the characters in it. But that's not super relevant. I feel like it's kind of a pointless isekai because like a lot of the isekai elements, I mean, a lot of those elements don't really matter that much. I think a lot of the plot points you could probably cover without it, but it it serves some purpose. So I guess I can't say it's completely pointless. It's just not a major element. Yeah. So she's brought to this world as a penguin, which I mean is different. I haven't seen that one before. I'll be honest. I've seen like pigs and dragons and I don't know, behemoths. Slimes, spiders. I mean, there's so many, right? Apples. But I haven't seen a penguin yet. That's new. And here's what I'll say. The dynamics are pretty similar to any other story like this, where this guy's like, top of the hierarchy or whatever, and he really likes her for some reason, even though they're basically opposites, and she would be prey because he's a killer whale and she's a penguin. But like I don't know, like I said, the dynamics are the same. It's just different animals. But like you'd see this a million times with like lion, like the main male lead is a lion or he's a wolf or a whatever, right? And then the female lead would be some other less imposing creature. So it's not really that stand out to me, in terms of like dynamics and things like that. But I don't think it does anything bad. I'm not gonna complain about anything in this. And some things I like. There's this element of like this is basically her dad. Like he made her in this world. But he's like a pure, human. And this is like a world that's like filled with beastmen and things like that. And he like hates beastmen. So when she changes into a penguin, not when she changes into a human, right? That kind of tells her like, oh, I'm not just an animal. I'm a beast man. Because there are normal animals and beastmen, right? So she thought she was just like a normal penguin, but she's actually a, beast man or whatever. So she kind of like runs away because she's afraid that her dad is going to like hate her because she's a, she's a beast man and not just a penguin. Which, I kind of like that, right? Like it's not like a forced separation situation, but you're like, choosing to stay away in order to sort out the situation before you can get back to, your loving home or whatever. Like she's not like treated poorly or anything off the bat. It's just you know, she has a situation that she needs to deal with. So I kind of like that. It's I don't know. It's a bit weird, like the whole like beastmen thing. Like there's like a ton of different ones, but they really don't show any of them going into like their beast forms. You'd think he'd use that a little more if you're going to have it as a plot element, but she's like the only one that they really show in her like non-human form, which is like, what's the point? Why is every, you know, like we know all these characters are beastmen, but like we don't see any of them transform, so it's like, why? I think maybe we see, I don't know, like I mean, I think you can count on one hand how many transformations there are in the series, and I don't know, I feel like with how many characters they introduce, that's pretty minute. I mean, I can only think of like 2, maybe? I'm trying to think, like, I really, I think there were only, I think there might have only been like 2 that they actually showed as like their beast form definitively. Like they show animals, but they don't necessarily show like, oh, this is this guy. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would just be better if maybe they showed like, oh, you know, there's a squirrel guy, there's a snake guy, there's the bird guy, you know, whatever, right? Also, there's like this random element of like her dad and like every human is going to die. Like they just say like, oh yeah, they're all gonna die by like a plague. That's what happened in the book, and I'm like, wouldn't that be a bit of a bigger deal than just like they don't really make it sound like it's the biggest deal. That's a lot of like people. I mean, Jesus Christ. And apparently in this world, there's like, I don't know, there's magic or whatever, but I don't think like any of the Beastmen except for like a very, very, very select few can use it. But humans can, and but they mention like this stuff is actually important. Like they use magic for a lot of things, so it's kind of like, wouldn't that be a really big deal? Like we can't just let every human die because then we just have no access to magic or whatever. And it's like, I feel like that's kind of a big deal. Like I don't know. And I feel like it's not as pressing. Like they'll just have like fun moments, and I'm like, I would kind of get on that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really think there's any super big elements. I mean, like, there's not a ton of like comedy or anything in the series. I mean, they show her as like a cute penguin just doing silly things or whatever. And they try to like, you know, they try to utilize like their animal characteristics and kind of give it like, oh, they do this because they're this animal or that animal. That's fine. But I don't know. I feel like it's not really anything special. It's just kind of like a romance between two people that you wouldn't think would go well together romantically, and it's like, all right. I don't think that's special, and that's kind of why I gave it a 7, because it's like, I don't know. I think I probably, you know, like I want to say like, oh, you know, it's the first one I've seen with a penguin, so maybe that, you know, gives it a little bit of a unique quality because I haven't seen that before, but they're doing everything the exact same way as if it was any other animal, so it's like, that's not going to give you anything, right? Like, you might have picked a unique set of animals, but that doesn't necessarily do anything if you do the same exact story with those ones. I guess like the plague thing's kind of different, but like I said, I feel like they don't really, it doesn't feel like there's much urgency, even though it sounds real bad. I don't know. It sounds a little silly to me. I guess I'll end it with the old SA. If you want to know what that is, well, it's story, art, enjoyment. Story-wise, you know, it really doesn't do anything special. I would say I've seen every single plot element before, and I've seen a lot of them together as well, so I'm gonna give it a 7. I think that's fair. Art-wise, um, you know, the art's pretty good for the most part. I don't really think any of the characters stand out that much to me. And I think to get to like the higher, you know, scores in art, I feel like you have to stand out a little bit, and I feel like it doesn't. So I'd probably go like a 7 or an 8 maybe. Like it's good. It does everything pretty well. I don't mind any of it. And it doesn't use like the whole like chibi thing too much, which I appreciate. So yeah, I think that's fair. And then enjoyment-wise, like a 7. It's fine. But like I said, I've seen a lot of it before, so it didn't really stand out to me, in particular. So, eh. Yeah. So like overall 7. I feel like an objective, like that's, I think, a pretty fair rating. It doesn't really do anything outstanding, but it does everything it wants to do pretty well. And it's at least a little bit different, you know, on the eyes. Like, rather than seeing, like, the male lead as, like, a wolf or a lion or whatever, like, for the 500th time. You know, it's at least a little different. But yeah, I mean, I think that's about it with this. I'd appreciate if you could like, comment, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Maybe leave another story you want me to talk about down below. I mean, even if I've read it, I'll read it again. I don't really care. Yeah. See ya.